Alrighty, I'm going to provide you with a little brief part 6 in a story. This is sort of story time. And what we're looking at here is the view here, head of a fetus or an infant at the time of birth. Oftentimes these pictures are very difficult to observe or look at, baby pictures, when there's problems with the baby. So we'll try not to look at that too much. But there is these things called fontanelles, okay? And that this is actually a relatively closed fontanelle compared to what you'll see at the moment of birth. Okay, so there's an anterior and a posterior fontanelle that are continuous with the sagittal suture up here, which actually isn't formed yet. Okay, so that's the deal. Here, this is a little bit out a ways from perfectly newborn. And so what do I want to bring to your attention here? I want to bring to your attention, first of all, that the cranium is something that's actually, well, first of all, I like to think of just the, how shall I say, the first moments. This is not ossified. At the time of birth, if you're a midwife, you're actually shaping the head of the infant to fit through the opening, because the opening is only 4 inches. 10 centimeters is only 4 inches. No one's head is 4 inches, right? And so that means there's going to be stress. Stress on the baby, stress on the mom. One of the ways you can relieve stress is to shape the head of the baby carefully with your fingers at the time of effacement, and so that the birth occurs so that the baby's this part of the baby's head comes through first, right here, and then this part comes, and you can just see this is all very membranous, and the baby comes through, and the head lifts up and looks at you. Okay, so that's part of the deal. And then there's a spin, and one shoulder or the other presents. Okay, so I want to bring that to your attention because historically, mothers throughout the world in different places in Central America as well as in Europe shaped the heads of their babies in very specific ways that were considered unique to royalty in many cases. But the deal is you've made a little cone head as the baby's head comes through, and then you've got a week or so to reshape the head of the baby. You've got time. Seriously, and I'm not kidding you. You have time to shape the head of your baby. You like round? Go for round. If you like cone-shaped, go for cone-shaped, whatever it is that your preference is. If you take a look at the Mayan art, you'll see that the heads were shaped a certain way in the royal family. So if that's what you like, go for it. So I want to bring this to your attention. Now notice, this is the human newborn. These are the bones of the face. Do you see that this individual looks like a human and everything, but the bones, this is actually ways past newborn. But nevertheless, the newborn face is just forming and is going to elongate. Notice that the cranium is pretty much there. Okay, so the brain is there, but the face is not quite yet arrived. And the face is elongating and growing. Eventually the face is going to fill out, and there's going to be some consequences, and I'm bringing this to your attention right here. One of the things that I learned in medical school, especially from my pediatric subspecialty groups, was that the pediatric docs never mentioned this to the moms they were serving and the babies and so on, but they never let their own children blow their nose before the age of 5. And the reason for that is that as the face is growing, initially the eustachian tube between the nasal cavity and the middle ear is very short and wide and straight, and that if the baby learns how to blow their nose before the age of 5, they can force infected materials into the middle ear and cause otitis media. Okay, so they always wait, and in fact, with my own son, I did the very same thing, having learned that, and I had my son, put a Kleenex next to his nose and do raspberries, sort of, made him made a sound that was satisfying to my son, sounds that boys like to make. And then, he didn't blow his nose and he never had otitis media, ever. And the people who practice this little skill also seem to avoid otitis media, just a heads up to the moms in the crowd out there. So after 5, what happens is that the facial bones elongate, and the eustachian tube actually changes shape into much more of an S curve. It narrows, it's longer, and there's less chance of otitis media after the age of 5. Okay, so in here they're showing us how to, if you're a great artist and you make the head larger, you're going to cause the individual you're drawing to look more like a child. If you make the head smaller, then the individual you're drawing is going to look a little bit more adult-like. Okay, so there's those features right there. What determines the end, the maturity of the skeleton, is different for different people, but ultimately the growth discs have to close, and oftentimes there's a change in the diet. For some women, for instance, it's their first pregnancy that actually brings about certain changes in their body that finally brings the end to the maturation process of the skeleton. Okay.